Welcome back to the channel. We're finally getting on the part 2 of engine assembly. My plan is by the end of today to have the engine sitting in the truck. Now I'm going to finish it as a short block. We're going to finish the heads at the shop today, hopefully. And anyway, my plan is to have this in the truck by the end of today, not running, but I'm going to put it in as a short block because it makes it easier for me to get to the bell housing bolts and to manage the weight with the limited space I have because I'm putting it in by myself. I don't want to try putting it in with the heads and the giant keg intake. I'll put it on after. Makes it easier for me. Anyway, first thing we got to do is put all these galley plugs in before I mess up and forget. So nothing too complicated. These had a weird size, so we ground down a 3/8 extension to fit. Now there's a bigger port back here on the back of the engine. This port here, there's another one inside of that one. It goes through where the distributor goes in. This is how you access it though, it's in there. So I just like to use a little ultra gray. The one that's inside I won't put anything on. We'll just put it in, tighten it up. The outside ones we'll put some ultra gray on. Guten tight. Alright, good enough. Bigger one goes right here. I don't believe it really takes a whole lot. Just some. You see, even though I didn't put that much on it, you see it pushing it all out. There's no reason to cake a bunch of RTV on there or a bunch of sealant or anything. It's just going to push it out. It's just to fill in the fine spaces. This one could use a little more. Oh man. Oh, one tried to pull away. Another one right here. Oh, it got crazy. And the other one goes right here. Wipe a little bit of that stuff out of there. I don't necessarily want this in the oil. Hell, this one, since it is oil saturated, I didn't need to put any RTV on it. But I got a little ahead of myself, so be alright. And what I mean by that is there's oil on this side and oil on that side. If that barely seeps through whatever tiny bit of oil can get through the threads without sealant, it's not going to matter. Oh well, wipe whatever is off so we don't get it in the oiling system, and we'll call it alright. Alright, now I'm going to get everything ready, put in all of our freeze plugs and stuff. Alright, on the freeze plugs. I've went and found some sockets that fit as close as I can to it. Now, be warned, if you find a socket that fits absolutely perfectly in there, when you shove it in the block, it's going to pinch the socket. So make sure you got a little bit of wiggle room. And I know that because I've done it. I was going to use JB Weld to seal these things. Now, you don't necessarily have to put anything on it, but I'd just like to have something. So instead of JB, I'm just going to use a little ultra gray. Be alright. The shop I worked at, it was a common thing to use JB Weld and never had a problem. And once you have something that works, you never really stray from it, because why? But we'll use this. It's going to be fine. I'm sure people use them without any sealant at all, and it works fine. I'm not that bold, but we'll go with RTV today. We're kind of straight. Even this one, as loose as it was, it's still snug now. Give it back. I might find one that's just a hair looser. See what I mean? I had 16th all around, but once it's in the block, it locked down on it. I think that'll be alright. I'll go find a socket that's a little looser, and we'll knock it in one more hit. Not so bad. And that's it. I'll do that a bunch more times. That's just the big side ones. There's two small ones in the block. I believe it's only two. There's one right here. There's another big one on the front. There's a small one here. And there's a small one over here. So I'm going to do the same thing. Start knocking those in. 3 on this side, there's 3 on the other side, there's 2 in the back, and 2 in the front. Now, I'm sure most people know, but the brass ones, they're better. They're gonna last way longer. And with your paint scheme, if you paint it first and then put them in, I like the contrast, it looks better. On top of it's gonna last forever. I've seen so many of the steel ones rot out, and then I've seen engines blow up because they got hot because the freeze plug rotted out. So that's not something I play with. Just get the brass ones. Now there's a chance I'll blow this thing up well before that would ever be an issue, but I like this. This is what I do. Once you find something that works, stick with it. I almost forgot this guy. If I remember right, this stuck out. So we need a little bit of goop. And in we go. I'm not exactly sure how far it has to go in, so we'll look at this block right here. It's got a bolt in it. Be all right. Just past the bevel there. That's probably good or enough. All right, now we're gonna move on to torquing. The rods. They're already snug, so we just gotta run them to 64 foot-pounds. 64. Couldn't find my paint marker, but I've got video evidence, so we'll be all right. I will walk them in a little. It should be 64. 64. Hey, oh yeah, we torqued this one when we were checking all the cam stuff. Now, because I'm paranoid, I'll work back through it backwards. That's the advantage of the paint marker, but even if I paint markered it, I'd still be paranoid and I'd still want to check it again. All right, double, triple checked. Those are torqued. Now I gotta get something to pull the rear main cap off and put a little RTV on the rear main seal. Right, I like to offset the ends so that they're not parallel with the surface. And a little RTV in the back corners. To try to keep everything from leaking. I don't think we need anything too crazy, just a bit right there in the corner. I'll put a little bit out here to the edge. We don't want it to get on that seal. We just want to seal it from seeping through the metal or seeping through the gap. Oil pump's on there, 2 bolts, torqued to 35. And I went ahead and rechecked the torque on my cam bolt because it was loose. We left it loose on purpose. I put a little Loctite and torqued it to 50 foot-pounds. Some people were saying 50 is a bit much and they go 40 after they snap some bolts off, or they snap the cam bolt off, but this one made 50 just fine. So now I can put the front timing cover on and sort through all the bolts to figure out which bolts go to it, and then I can put the oil pan on, and we're around in the corner. I'm putting this thing on. I just gotta also make sure I don't forget to put the adapter in there. You could get it on after, but why? Alright, we're about to put the timing cover on. Now, I don't know when they released this, but Felpro's gaskets, I've noticed the last, I think, two engines I've done, they're like this now. It's metal with this rubber stuff on it. It's really damn good. You know, the paper ones split and do other kinds of dumb crap. These are a little less sensitive. Also, depending on how much corrosion and stuff you have around the water ports, this helps. If you've got too much, you'll use a little gray RTV. Mine are fine, so I'm not going to. I trust that. I've also cleaned up the surface on the back of this with my stone, so I feel like it's going to be alright. Hopefully. I may put a little bit on the timing cover side. As far as the bolts, I believe this is how it was. It had some kind of wiring harness going across the front. That's why it has these. They have no washer, nothing sticking past. This one holds trans cooler lines, oil cooler lines, all kinds of crap. That one, see, no fancy washer built in, just regular looking bolt. So that's what holds timing cover on. So now I set the camera down and get this on there. I did decide to put just a little bit of gray, just a nice light coat, because it's not that bad. I think they sell some blue stuff for this. I've had plenty of luck with ultra gray. It works fine. Now if you use orange, shame on you. That's for exhaust. Timing cover's on. Torque to 30 foot-pounds. I had already put a front crank seal in it before. It only had 12 hours of runtime, so I didn't go through replacing that. Just put a little bit of lube on it. Drive the dampener in there and make sure you don't fold the seal over. You want the dampener in because it's what locates the timing cover, even though it could be off just a little bit. The dampener centers it, then you tighten your bolts. So now we're going to work on the oil pan next and finding all those bolts. Got all the bolts ready. Now on this, you're going to want to put a little RTV in the corners. Well, I say a little. I wouldn't go super crazy, but maybe a good bit. Hopefully that'll do it. Put a little bit right here on this where the two join each other because they're a little different height. It's not a bad idea. Alright, that down in there. The pan kind of stretches it down, so hopefully everything will stay in place. Alright. Where's the hole at? I should have looked first. There we go. We're on the front. That seems alright. Back looks alright. Start putting bolts in. I like that Dodge went all 5/16. It's all the same bolt. It's great. Now when we tighten these up, we're not just going to run down one side then the other. We're going to try to work it down because it's got to stretch this down kind of evenly. We want to help it do its job. Take a look where we're at first. Now I'll go get a ratchet. Whoopsie. sure there's a torque spec for these, but I'm just gonna go with what feels right. Just snug and a little oomph. Socket's just a little worn out. Alright, oil pan's on. I'm gonna put this on, find the other plug for that, and I'm almost ready to throw it in the truck. Oh, I skipped some steps, but it's in there. I put my new engine mounts in. I had to open up the holes in the chassis because it was made for like 1/2 inch bolts, and those are 9/16. Hell, they might have been 7/16 bolts, so much bigger. Also, I had to scoot this one out a little too. Now at some point this truck got wrecked hard because someone has welded in a new front clip right here just in front of the motor mounts, and when I pulled the engine out it was tweaked, like it did not want to just come out. So I was a little worried making my mounts that I was making it to a twisted frame, but it worked out all right. I had to trim that side a little bit, but it's in there. It should work just fine. Get some washers and some nylocks and call it a day on that. So I'll pick at this thing tomorrow, get the rest of the bell housing bolts in, get the flywheel bolts in, not the flywheel bolts, the torque converter bolts to the flywheel in, and I had to order 8 exhaust valves because there were a couple that were bent, but when I ordered all my new intake valves, they were a little different than the old ones. Just the dish in the valve face, so I didn't want to get mismatched exhaust valves, so I just ordered a set of 8 so they'll all be the same. The heads are fully ported. This thing should make some power with this cam and everything we got set up. I'm hoping this weekend, I got some other stuff, some family stuff I got to do. I'm hoping this weekend somehow I can get the heads on and get this thing back together. I don't think I've mentioned it yet. I'm not putting the blower back on right now. Right now with the setup we've got, it's got about 10:3 or 10:3 to 10:5 compression ratio. It's a little too high for boost and pump gas. And also I want to do some intake manifold playing and some of the common things people do. Can actually swap it out on the dyno. This is what me and Tim want to do. Swap intake manifolds on the dyno and compare it back to back. Because this company says theirs is great, this company says theirs is great, and blah 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 blah. So dyno tells all. Also, I'd like to get into more JTEC tuning on the Dakota. I've got some videos on Jeep tuning, and it's the same processor, same process. It's speed density. It's simple stuff once you get used to it. So look forward for that. Hopefully this weekend we'll be able to hear it run, and then hopefully the next weekend we'll be able to dyno this thing and see what it does. Thank you for hanging in there, and thanks for watching.